While Eskom's financial recovery is a positive step, the reality on the ground for South Africa's energy-intensive industries, including ferroalloys, mining and steel, are struggling to stay afloat due to unsustainably high electricity tariffs. With over 800% tariff increases since 2007, many smelters and heavy industrial facilities have been forced to cut production or shut down entirely. And join me now to unpack this conversation further is Nellis Bester, Chair of the Ferroalloys Producers Association. Thank you so much for your time, Nellis. Now, firstly, just to get an idea of the ferroalloys industry's reliance on Eskom, what level of weight does electricity carry in your expense base?
Good afternoon, Zinaso and all the viewers. Yes, obviously electricity is a key part for the ferroalloys industry. And, the ferroalloys industry is comprising from ferrochrome, ferromanganese and silicon alloys. And depending on which commodity, our total cost of production, just based on the cost of electricity today, is between 40 and 60% of total cost. So it's the biggest cost contributor and therefore very concerning for this industry.
Yeah, that is a very, very heavy weight on that cost base. I mean, the high tariff headwind has been a pain point for consumers, industrial consumers, for years. Is this a cycle where the high tariffs are detrimental to the industrial sector, but also in turn hurts Eskom? So a never-ending cycle of negativity.
Zinazo, yes, this death spiral was predicted more than 10 years ago by industry because of the uncontrolled increases in the tariffs. So what is happening now as we speak today, out of the 80 furnaces in South Africa in this industry, only 8 are in operation. So the lose-lose effect here is that when these smelters are under normal operation, we contribute to about 50 billion ZAR of Eskom's revenue. And today, that revenue is not there anymore because these smelters are standing today. So it is really a very bad situation to be in today, both for the smelting industry, but also for Eskom and for the revenue of South Africa.
Yeah, it's pretty sobering, I mean, to note that those revenues, those high revenues that Eskom has produced are not because of volumes, but are because of those higher tariffs. And of course, in turn, then boosting that profitability of the power utility. But you do say that the turnaround of Eskom is encouraging. So is what Eskom has been able to produce not enough to offset the adverse effects of the tariffs?
Yes, exactly. We are delighted to see the turnaround from Eskom and returning to positive figures. We have seen in the last couple of months that the availability of Eskom's power stations has increased from below 40% to close to 70%, which means today there's an excess amount of power available on the grid, which is not consumed. So to turn this around really from a lose-lose situation to a win-win situation, it's a compromise between getting a tariff that can work, but then on the other hand, ensuring we're consuming what Eskom is generating, plus then contributing to the revenue of Eskom. So it's really a very basic calculation to do, and I'm sure it's a no-brainer if we do the calculations.
And I mean, Nellis, the ferroalloys industry also operates within a global ecosystem. How much is the current situation impacting the domestic industry's competition dynamics?
Well, it's severe. If we look at just the 3 legs of the ferroalloys in South Africa, which is ferrochrome, ferromanganese and ferrosilicon, all of that goes to the local steel industry. Now, having tariffs that puts us in an uncompetitive position results in 2 things. Number one, either the steel producers import material from China or Russia and then putting us further out of business, or they are patriotic to South Africa and they will buy from the local industry. That's what we want. But now the cost is tremendously high, meaning their raw material input cost is now much higher, And that then leads to higher stainless steel and carbon steel prices to the industry below them, So it's a really bad situation.
Well, there is a call for a fundamental policy shift when it comes to the tariff landscape. What should that look like?
At this stage, I think government is busy with a plan to change it. The fundamental start of it is to put in a sort of a special industrial tariff for the local beneficiation so that we protect our ores. We beneficiate the ores from South Africa. We ensure the consumption of Eskom and revenue, plus then the revenue to the industry. So the starting point is really to block a sort of a tariff for this industry, which will then spin off automatically to the steel and stainless steel industry, So there's a win-win roll-down effect by doing that, And then after that, obviously developing a policy to see how can we expand it and make it really a long-term solution per sector to ensure that we grow. What we have seen over the last 15 years is this industry is shrinking. With it, the jobs is shrinking, and there's no new investments. What we would like to see is new investments from the current role players, but also from new investors building smelters in South Africa and expanding the metallurgical footprint that we do have with all the critical minerals we have available.
All right. Well, thank you so much. We do have to end the conversation there, Nellis, but a pretty sobering conversation there, that as much as we are seeing green shoots on this front, but there is still a lot more to be done to support the economic sectors of the country. Well, that was Nellis Bester, chair of the Ferroalloys Producers Association.